friends, welcome to a brand new vlog. I can't say good morning because it is already 4:30 in the afternoon. I have actually just finished filming my final spring daily outfit as part of my 30-day outfit challenge on Instagram. It's been really fun and it's been a great way to kind of inspire myself and hopefully one or two other people on pulling together some really lovely outfits for spring. I've really enjoyed doing it. We're going to be doing a deep dive tomorrow into the analytics to see what the most popular outfits were, what your favourite products were, so really looking forward to doing that, and maybe I'll do it every season. I'm looking forward now to bringing other content back into my Instagram and maybe doing an outfit feature like that once a week or something, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's been really nice to get back into the groove with fashion content. So this will have been the last look that you'll have seen, and there's lots more really exciting stuff to come very soon, including some lovely recipes. But yeah, that has been pretty much the day-to-day, filming the last few videos, and as always on a Monday, an admin day, so you've not missed out on anything. I have something very exciting to share with you, because the second that you are watching this, as this video has gone live, we are putting live the link where you can access tickets to an event that I'm hosting along with fabulous Chloe of Chloe's Pilates. We are doing an event together at Bamford, Daylesford, and you are invited. It's going to be an amazing morning, a morning of wellness. I think we've called it Wellness in the Wild. I will put the final name of the event on the screen here. It is still TBC at the second that I'm filming this, but I'm so thrilled to be able to hopefully meet a lot of you at Daylesford. And if you've been on the Daylesford website before, or been to the farm shop, you'll know that there are so many incredible events that they do there, from cooking courses to cheese tours, farm tours and things like that. So we were thinking, what can we do that is going to be a really fun morning and a way for Chloe and I to really project our loves and just have a really amazing morning together. So what we're going to do is, on the 1st of July, kicking off at 10 AM, I would recommend getting there a little bit early, we are going to be doing an hour of Pilates. It's going to be not super advanced, but not like really easy, so it's going to be a good level of Pilates with Chloe, just mat Pilates, and then she's going to do some incredible sound healing with the crystal bowls and meditation. Then Chloe and I are going to have a little chit chat, and it's going to be very wellness, nature, movement focused, so very in line with Daylesford, with Bamford, and the things that Chloe and I are very passionate about. And then I'm going to lead us around the market garden and around the Daylesford estate, and we are going to do a little bit of foraging, a little bit of bloom searching. If you cast your minds forward to July, everything's going to be in full bloom. It's going to be lots of fun. And then I'm going to do a little floral masterclass with you. It's just going to be the most wonderful morning. There's going to be yummy treats, lovely drinks, an amazing goodie bag, so I really hope that some of you will be able to join us. We think that this will sell out quite quickly, so hopefully you remember a couple of weeks ago I told you to put the 1st of July in your diaries, and I will leave the link to this event at the top of the description box, and I'm really, really excited for it to take place. It's going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Can't even think about July and summer at the moment, because as I'm filming this, it's actually still the very end of April and it is bloomin' freezing. But I think that we are due to have, like, some newspapers have actually been calling it a heat wave. I would say the weather that we should be having wave as opposed to a heat wave, but hopefully by the time this vlog goes live we're actually having some nice temperatures. Wouldn't that be a dream come true? Anyway, as soon as we wrap up work for the day today, I'm gonna grab Charlie and we are going to be answering some questions about living in the Cotswolds and living in this house. It has been 4 years. Sorry, I keep like falling over onto the wall because I'm standing on my tiptoes. We're going to be answering the questions that you guys sent in via Instagram and via YouTube comments to celebrate our 4-year anniversary of making the move from London to the Cotswolds. I think this is the most questions that I have ever received on a Q&A. So there's loads to dig into. So this might be quite a long vlog because we all know somebody who likes to talk a lot, and it ain't me. It is me too, but Charlie. So that's going to be good fun, and then we will go along together tomorrow for a day in London. I've just got some really lovely meetings, and yeah, it's going to be a nice day. Hopefully it's going to be warm and sunny, but we shall see, we shall see. So I'm going to head back. Gunny sounded a bit Irish. I'm going to head but I'm going to go and do the rest of my Monday afternoon admin, fun-o-rama, and then we'll catch up a little bit later for our Old House Our Home Q&A. Okay, we are in the office. The official workday has just ended. I've got his lordship, Charlie. Okay, we had so many questions. I screenshotted as many as I possibly could. Yeah, and and they are screenshots of an entire screen.
Well, we're not obviously going to be able to answer them all now. No. However, what we will do is we will get the amazing Chloe to look through them, and potentially we can look at a couple of blog posts that address a lot of these sort of regularly asked questions.
Yes.
So like the commonly, was it the FAQs? Yeah, Alexa's been doing that recently.
She's been piping up a lot lately, hasn't she?
No, but she does, she plays like an evening routine. Fair play. Alexa, off please.
You don't want to listen to that in the evening.
No. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll do that, yeah? Because we've got a lot of exciting things planned for the blog, and I think there's a lot of questions we get asked quite consistently that it'd be nice if we can direct people to a blog post. It
would indeed, and actually one of the questions was about our favourite antiques, and that blog post has literally just gone live. I'll pop a little preview on the screen here. So Charlie's Antiques Black Book is now live on the blog. So let's get started.
Just quickly though, so just something on that, very quickly. One or two things I've learned when buying antiques, apart from the obvious measuring stuff, is don't go into it like you would bartering in a market, but also don't pay the asking price.
There's always 10%.
There's always 10 to 20% opportunity, or even free delivery or things like this. So basically, don't be afraid to negotiate and get a better price.
Good tip. Okie dokie. Let's get started. So a lot of people asked, is this your forever home? And I think the resounding answer is...
Well, yeah, the resounding answer is yes, but then also the slightly long-winded Charlie answer is never take anything for granted. We do, of course, have a mortgage on this house. We need to keep working hard. If we carry on the trajectory that we're on now, then yes, but who knows? And it's obviously our hope to potentially even get to a point where this house could be kept within the family of future children as well, financially. So even once we've paid the mortgage off, you've then got lots of other factors to consider to get it to a point where you can leave it to your children without inheritance tax and things like this.
Oh, the joys.
Or with something to cover that. But yeah, hopefully all being well.
But everything that we have done, like renovation-wise and furniture investment-wise, it is all with the dream and the hope that this will be our forever home. I can't imagine ever falling in love with a house as much as we've fallen in love with this one.
And we're already tied to it now, because you think about it, we got married in our garden. So that day has already sort of tied us emotionally to this house. And I think even more than, say, our first house together in Clapham, we were very sad to leave that, and that will always have special memories because it was our first home together. And we got the dogs together there, and there's loads of that will resonate with everyone watching this, that every property you live in, you tend to have lots of emotional ties, but I don't think you're going to get much more emotional than actually getting married in the garden. So all being well, hopefully we'll live here forever. And I think we take that for granted as well when we're with friends or people that we work with. we are extremely fortunate, and we feel that, but that everything we're doing is hopefully stuff we'll enjoy for, you know, it makes sense when we're putting all that hard work into the garden, because hopefully we will, you know, forever benefit from that.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's not necessarily your forever home, of course you have to consider, you know, if things are worthwhile financially and time-wise, because if, you know, you might not be there to enjoy the fruits of your labour. Like even the trees we've planted.
Trees, yeah.
Although there are trees we've planted.
Our grandchildren will benefit from
yeah,
that.
Yeah. There's the quote, isn't there, about a man planting the oak tree, and it's like he will never get to enjoy the shade from it, or something like that.
Aww. The next question is, do you miss being close to London or a bigger city? No. I think that where we are, funnily, this used to not be like the coolest part of the Cotswolds. This wasn't typically the most desirable part, whereas now I would say people are finally cottoning on to the fact that where we live in the north of the Cotswolds, I think is the best part. One of the many reasons being because it is so commutable. So our train from Banbury into central London is less than an hour, and while it's not that convenient in the evenings, like if I want to meet a friend for dinner, because in the evenings they're only once an hour, so if you miss one it's a real pain in the dingly dongly, but I don't feel isolated from London at all. If I want to go in just to get my hair done or just to meet a friend for dinner, it's doable, or for work. Tomorrow I'm popping into London for a few meetings. I think if we lived more than an hour and a half away, I would probably feel there was a little bit more of a...
Yeah, well look, I think it's an hour and a half door to door realistically, wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
It is, obviously London is a much more of a chore than it was when we lived in Clapham, which, bear in mind, for people watching this video that aren't in London, even when most people that live in London still have best part of half an hour, 40 minutes to work anyway, because not many people can afford to live in the very centre of London, where most companies are based. So, yeah, I think in a weird way, why, you know, COVID, there was a lot of negatives, right, for a lot of people, and we all suffered as a result of COVID. One sort of positive byproduct was that the brands and companies we work with, and a lot of other people work with in other industries, came to the conclusion quite quickly that all of these big events and dinners and things like that, and a lot of face-to-face meetings weren't necessary in order to do business. And so our working ecosystem changed overnight.
Yeah.
We were fully invested in having to go into London 2 or 3 days a week. And look, who knows, to our previous point, this career might not be forever. We might want to do something different in the future, or we might have to. So we could do, I always say to people, 2 or 3 days is commutable from this area, from near Banbury.
Yeah.
5 days a week would be very tough, because it still is quite a big commute. But for us, it was the right time in our life. I think I encourage people that haven't lived in London or a big city like Manchester, Leeds, wherever, to go when you're young to experience that.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy we experienced that. But we reached a point where we were both very much like, we've done this now.
Yeah.
We've loved it. It's lovely to go into London. We're going in for the Chelsea Flower Show. We're super excited. We'll spend 3 or 4 days there. One of, well, my favourite city in the world. But we feel very fortunate to live in the countryside.
I think also, again, asterisk here, we are exceptionally biased. We absolutely love where we live, and we're very biased towards it. But having said that, I think, again, where we live is a real unusual, unique place in that the north of the Cotswolds has got so many incredible amenities, whether it is, you know, the cliches, the Soho farmhouse, the pubs, the Estelle Manors, you know, we've got really luxurious and wonderful establishments on our doorstep. So
we're very spoiled for that.
Yeah, even when we were on our honeymoon, we met a really lovely family, and they lived in another really beautiful part of the country.
In Kent, wasn't it?
Or
no, Sussex, near Arundel, which is spectacular.
Stunning, but they were saying that they don't have the amazing pubs, butchers, 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅 studios to the extent that we have the concentration of those kind of amazing amenities.
Yeah.
And not just one, like, yeah, obviously many places have got great butchers, many places have got great 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅 studios, silly things like that, but in this part of the Cotswolds, I don't feel that we're lacking, you know.
No, we're very sport, but then equally, as you know, like when I went to the Brecon beacons, in terms of landscape, we are very fortunate in sport with the rolling hills and everything here, but it's also very important to mention that there are so many beautiful areas in this country we live in. And, you know, Brecon, you know, I have to be honest, I've never been to Brecon and that area. It's a national park. We were climbing, obviously you're climbing mountains. There's not one, we could not see one property in the distance. So it's just spectacular there, and you're not actually that far from London there either.
No.
So there are so many areas, I guess, to back to the sort of the crux of it, to anyone that's maybe thinking about leaving a city or moving, it's just trying to consider your genuine priorities, not for now, but for the next 10 years. So things to consider are things like, you know, proximity to train stations, but obviously also things like proximity to a nice gym, being able to access cities and towns for shopping, etc, etc. We're biased, we love it here. There are lots of other lovely areas in the UK to live, but I think you make your own luck in life, and we've believed this, and there's an element of manifestation which I'm not going to go into here, but the timing of us moving here was extremely fortunate. There seems to be a lot of investment now in the area in terms of investment in restaurants, gyms, members clubs.
All the pubs like 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅 𝑴𝒆, Estelle, Bamford Club,
I mean,
so many.
Even I heard that like the Halfway at 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅, which is a pub that I've really wanted to visit, but it is about 45 minutes for us. They're opening one in Morton, or near Morton. And that's only 20 minutes.
To the pig hotels. In like half an hour from us. So can you tell we love this area a lot? Okay, a lot of people have asked if we have any more major renovation projects that we want to do on the house.
Well, look, first start by saying that when it's your forever home and when it's an old property like this, I don't think will ever be done. And I think you have to accept that. With my eccentricities and desire for everything to have its place and be perfect, have had to slowly accept that it can't always be like that. Even like with the outside of the house, we've not painted the outside of the house apart from a few minor bits in the first year we lived here. Been here 4 years. I'm looking at the windows now and thinking, wow, we really need to no, because otherwise what happens is so
they're boring projects.
No, they are. In answer to the question, I think we have 7 bathrooms in this house. Bathrooms, we've got 8 with toilets, but 7 bathrooms. All of them we want to do work to. None of them are 100% to our taste. We can't afford to do them all. We are looking at doing 1 or 2 this year and doing it gradually. Those are smallish projects, but they're still proper projects. Garden-wise, where we've obviously spent the majority of the time and money so far, we only really have what I would argue is one big project left, which is the pond, which is at least another year or so before we'll afford to do that.
So expensive to do pond renovations.
But it will be amazing when we do it, and I'm excited that we've got that project left, and by the time that we've probably done that, hopefully we'll have children and there'll be, you know, a tree house, or there'll be other stuff that I want to do.
And there's also, we are always thinking about the kitchen. Like half the time we're like, okay, let's do the 𝑭𝒂 and let's do the worktops. And then I also think, why not just wait 5 years and do the whole thing? So,
do you think?
I don't know.
I think
my Instagram Explore page shows me the most stunning kitchens, and I'm like, imagine if we could get a top level kitchen designer to come in. But what would they do with our kitchen?
But I think then you got to consider things like young children. I think that's something to do personally. Something like that is potentially something to do when you've got teenagers or late teens, so they're, you know, nearly moving out.
So do we do the 𝑭𝒂 and the worktops?
I think you do the 𝑭𝒂 and the worktops.
And then when we've got 15-year-old children, then we
and when we can afford to do it all on another level. But yeah, look, I think in answer to the question, yes, there's loads of projects. There's also lots of other property projects we want to do that we'll share on the channel as we navigate through. I think the most pressing ones are like what I want to tick off are like what I call like the easy wins, and the ones that will have the biggest impact on our lives. So our own bathroom, the kitchen, and then potentially one of the guest bathrooms, because it kind of works at the same time as doing the other bathroom. But one bit of advice would always be to really think through all the work you're going to do and plan it, so that if you can afford it, to get enough done at once, so that you then don't have this sort of constant carousel of work 1 month without next month. Just say, okay, 3 months, we're going to get this done and that's it for the year, and then enjoy your home, because otherwise it is intense having people working in your house, the noise, the dust, the mess.
What you didn't realise you would love about living in the countryside, but now wouldn't want to miss out on. I really like this question because actually for me, the answer is the views that we get when we're driving around and noticing the seasons changing. Because I think that when we lived in London, it's a city, and yes, you see trees and you see greenery, but I think living out here, you really love the seasons more.
Yeah.
That has been something that I never considered.
The seasons are more visible and evident out here, both because the weather's slightly more changeable here, and also because you were surrounded by countryside.
Yeah.
I would say something in a weird similar way, which is something totally ridiculous, but you learn to appreciate it even when we go into a major town that we live near, like a Banbury or Chipping Norton is. I can spend 4 or 5 days of my week not seeing a traffic light. So I can drive to the gym, to the shops, to the farm shops.
And we're literally on country
to the post office, right?
The whole time.
And in the morning I might not even see a car. If I'm stuck behind anything, there'll be a tractor or a sheep that's escaped. So then when I go into Banbury to get the train or to Chipping Norton to get my haircut or something like that, I'm sounding like Caleb from Clarkson's Farm. It's not that I'm annoyed that I'm stuck at a traffic light or I'm stuck in traffic, but I'm like, wow, I take for granted that I barely get in traffic. Whereas in London, driving anywhere is quite stressful. Or now it would be, because we've become soft to it. So I think there's definitely that. And I think the other thing is the darkness at night. Clarkson's Farm, again, you can tell we're rewatching it in anticipation of the new series, is there's like a villager in one of the village scenes where Jeremy Clarkson's trying to get something approved, and he's being a bit Jeremy Clarkson. And and the villager's like, I like to look up at the sky at night. And he was basically arguing the point on the lights for the car park and light pollution.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and the narrative in the episode is almost like, this guy's mad, what's he on about? Like, and I'm watching it, I'm like, I'm that guy. I love walking outside and looking at the stars and very limited light pollution.
Yeah.
And that was where we're very spoiled.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's something.
Interesting.
Good question though.
Another question is, what are the cons, the downsides of living in an old house?
I mean, I'm so biased because I just...
The unexpected costs of everything.
Yeah, look, you've got to weigh up unexpected costs of anything, so I wouldn't necessarily guarantee that the energy's a hell of a lot more, because actually...
This is quite an energy efficient house. In terms of when it's cold outside, it's a fairly cosy house.
We've done things to try and mitigate against that, like we've draft proofed the windows, we've invested in wood burning stoves, which obviously mean that we can, rather than stick the heating up. Now obviously you're burning wood, and there's loads of arguments around this, but at least it's trees that have been cut down that are diseased, that are being burnt, that have been kiln dried, versus burning through oil or gas. I don't know which is worse. People can debate both ends, but it gives more control. I think, to be honest, the unexpected bit definitely, and I think the other thing with an old house, I mean, we're so biased because, to be honest, I love all of the pros far outweigh the cons.
I think it's, when I say the cost, it's the unglamorous and like unsatisfying cost. Yeah, exactly. Repointing, guttering, getting the drains flushed. These are things that I don't think people have to do in new builds.
I think you'd underestimate though, because knowing people that live in newer houses, you just swap those for other issues. You know, flat roofs. We don't have any flat roofs on this house because back in the day they weren't stupid enough to put flat roofs in. And they put flat roofs. It's not a technically, I know what you mean, but it's not a full-on flat roof, whereas our flat in London has a flat roof, and it's just the stupidest thing ever. Water sits on it, and it's just no wonder that it leaks.
Quite a few people have asked if our house is attached to another house, and I think that's probably because during the drone shots you probably will have seen the chapel. So our house is attached to a Catholic chapel, and that was actually something that we were not concerned but intrigued by when we were looking at purchasing this house, but it's not something that bothers us, is it?
The way I look at the Catholic chapel, so in the whole history lesson, it's a small Catholic chapel, it came for about 30 people in there, and it's one of the oldest Catholic chapels post-Reformation. It was a barn for our house originally when our house was a farmhouse, and I look at that chapel as why we're here, because our house, timing's everything. We were very lucky that when we looked into buying this house, the interest in the Cotswolds wasn't quite as big as it is now. It's all to do with COVID, people moving out of the city, etc. Bear in mind, we agreed to move to this house before COVID, moved during COVID. I think that this house would not have been on the market for over a year had it not had that, because it's quite a complicated setup. And if you don't view the house, and even to be honest, if you don't live in the house, you might think, oh no, we're attached to something that's going to create disruption and noise. But actually, it doesn't at all. It just adds character. They have two services.
2 or 3 times I have been gardening and I've heard people singing hymns, and it's just really nice.
It's magical. But for us, it works. For some people, it would be an issue. For us, it's very important that it's part of the history of the house. And we've got a great relationship with
Father David,
who runs the services there. And it's not in any way disruptive. So yeah, that is essentially, I view it as that sort of kind of weird, not weird, but kind of strange positive, that I feel like without that, this house would have become a bidding war, which we were already maxed out on what we could afford. So I kind of view it as how we were able to move to what was a much bigger house.
Definitely. Someone has asked, they've said they'd love to know more about what is unique about Cotswolds design and gardening.
Well, what's new? Well, I guess one point on that question is, and you know, I'm conscious, and my recent trip to Wales has really reignited my interest and passion in exploring other 𝑭𝒂𝒏𝒅s, or areas of outstanding natural beauty in our country, because we've got so many. And obviously, we go on about the Cotswolds because we live in the Cotswolds. But the Cotswolds was quite well known because of the sheep and wool trade. So the land in the Cotswolds is very good for rearing sheep, and it was very famous for the wool trade, which brought a lot of money to the area, and then development and these market towns, big churches and communities came from that. In terms of the style, there's a lot of stone architecture that's quite famous, Cotswold stone and Hornton stone. But then you could make that argument in Norfolk. They've got, I think, the flint. So there's a lot of characteristics, but you've got a lot of old, beautiful churches, which are a byproduct of the wool trade and the money that was around in those days. You've got a lot of lovely market towns that are based from that wool trade. So I guess from that perspective, also the conditions in the Cotswolds are quite, you know, there's a lot of land, there's a lot of good quality soil. It's quite warm.
And
it's
I think because it was an 𝑭𝒂𝒏 area of outstanding natural beauty and is now a national landscape, a lot of the houses here are protected. So, for example, thatched cottages, old houses like this one, they're actually protected, which means that a lot of the history and the original building style has been preserved. And even in new build estates, they more often than not are very sympathetic to local design and try and make it blend in quite seamlessly. So I think that aesthetic is what is quite to the Cotswolds.
There's more of a focus on keeping things looking beautiful, which we obviously love, and it's one of the reasons that drew us here.
Yeah. Next question is your house haunted? And this is a funny one because there were times when I was a little bit nervous about this, but we have never felt any bad juju in here. We've had a few quite spiritual people come over to the house and they've said that they don't feel any bad energy. I think this house has really good energy. Maybe we're protected by the chapel.
Do you know what though? The way I view it as well is this house, prior to Stephen, who rescued this house, the previous owner, had no roof. It had
so
all the windows. No, but seriously, it was a shell of a house, and he brought it back to life. Now, whenever you hear about spirits, and whether you believe in them or not, it's often when you're making drastic changes to a house that they don't like it. I kind of feel like this house was sort of left derelict for so long that it kind of...
They went.
Yeah, I think so. And if anything, they'd be happy about what's been returned to its former glory rather than, you know, but no, I think and maybe the proximity to the chapel and the church.
I also think karma. Like, I think this house, you know...
Well, hopefully, hopefully we give off a good vibe and our intentions with this house. I honestly mean this when I say this. I feel like we're custodians of this house.
Totally.
Yes, we own it at the moment, but I feel a responsibility to make...
Sorry, I had to change the battery. You were saying
the camera had had enough of my ramblings.
Custodians?
Yeah, I guess I just mean that I feel like with all of the hard work that Stephen and his family put into restoring this house, and with all the history of this house, I feel a responsibility as the now owners to preserve and maintain it. And also, everything that we do, we want to ensure is adding to it. And potentially restoring elements to how they almost used to be. So certainly with regards to the garden, I feel like that's been our approach, is looking at old photos. I mean, we wish we had access to even more than we currently do, but we're lucky to have any. and trying to bring it back in keeping with the house. That's always been our approach, and I think actually that's an important thing to mention to any of you looking at buying an old property, and particularly a listed property, is to beware of that, because if you're buying a listed property, we looked around this house and we were just in love straight away. Of course there are things we would change. If you could click our fingers, you know, we would potentially open rooms up or whatever, but that's never going to be possible because this house is Grade 2 star listed. That is something to consider if you're looking at an old listed property. The restrictions, we were at peace with those restrictions from the day one. So there's never been a moment where we're reticent or frustrated by the very restricted planning regulations, because we live in an 𝑴𝒂𝒻𝒃, as we keep banging on about, which means there's even more restrictions on what you can normally do from an exterior point of view than a regular area of the UK. And then we've also got the fact that we're Grade 2 star listed, and then we've also got the fact that we're connected to a building that has historic importance. So we've kind of, when we did your greenhouse, we had quite a process to go through. Of course, we wanted to do the greenhouse so it was sympathetic, and so many people have said to us that have been over, what, the greenhouse wasn't already here, because it looks so similar, because we tried to match the stone and everything. But that is something to really consider for anyone that is looking at old properties that are listed. You need to be pretty happy with the layout of rooms and where certain things are, because otherwise you're gonna find yourself frustrated, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, someone has asked how long did it take us to find the perfect Cotswold home, and I think our case is totally different to most other people's cases. Most people probably decide that they would like to move to the Cotswolds and they have a dream house in mind, and they probably spend months, if not years, if not decades, waiting for the perfect house. And often, especially within a certain price category, maybe between 800,000 and 6 million, houses in that price bracket, they go straight away, and they often don't even come to market because it's all like done privately, done quickly, because there are so many buying agents in the Maldives, in the Cotswolds.
The problem is the demand, particularly now, outweighs the supply.
Yeah.
So we were, once again, very fortunate with timing, that we fell in love with the house before we did the area. And once again, we were quite fortunate with the area in terms of where we are. Of course, like anywhere, I'd wish we were 10 minutes closer to Burford. I wish we were 10 minutes closer to this town, like the towns we love. But equally, we're very lucky that we're within 25 minutes of Burford or half an hour of Burford. So, yeah, I guess what we learned from the process, and I think, is to not overthink it. We were very spoiled and lucky we found our dream home. But I think potentially the best approach in today's market is to look at slightly undiscovered areas. I would always look around Banbury. I wouldn't necessarily look in Banbury because it is quite a busy town, but I would look in villages 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, a bit like where Straw-Top Cottage is in Atterbury. Those are beautiful villages around Banbury. They're near London. They're a good investment opportunity. Even if it's not your forever home, it's one that's going to go up in value by a lot. And we've already seen that even with the cottages or whatever. Properties seem to go up in value a lot the last couple of years in those areas, whereas other areas like Burford, Chipping Campden, etc., they're already very high, the prices. So I think that would be the best advice, and then you're on the ground, and then you're in the area, and then maybe your forever home might come up a few years later. That's the advice we give our friends anyway.
Spend time in the area as well, like go for weekend breaks. We'd been for a few weekends in the Cotswolds before making the decision to move here. But yeah, for us it was very quick. We saw the house. We hadn't plotted to move to the Cotswolds. We actually were staycationing in the Cotswolds, saw this house, and it was kind of like a bit of a dreamer, let's go and have a look around.
Everyone thought we were mental. But I think that's the thing. I think try to just do what feels natural with regards to that.
What is the one thing that you miss now about London now that you live in the countryside?
It's going to be food related.
I was going to say Milo and the Bull.
Were you? I think I've sort of replaced...
Deliveroo.
Yeah, look, okay, well, Milo and the Bull was a place we used to work out, which if anyone lives, well, in Battersea, Clapham area, or Peckham, they have one, or Borough now. Ooh. They've got 3 now. They've done amazingly well. We loved that environment and that work environment. I still miss it, but we're fortunate we've got our own home gym, we've got a great PT in Lauren, and we've got other gyms near us. it's a silly one, but it is still that sort. It's not Deliveroo, because Deliveroo for me went massively downhill in the year before we moved. Like everything started arriving wrong or cold or whatever. I don't know if it's recovered from that, but it's just off the cuff being able to go out for dinner. Yeah. We can of course go, oh, let's go out for dinner, but it's a bit more of a schlep living here. It's 15 minutes or whatever. You know, maybe one day I'll own a pub and then we can just go there, and let's see in the comments if people are up for that. Would you eat in a pub that we owned? There you go, let's see. But, because it could be on the horizon, who knows. But it was like just being able to go, oh, let's go to 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅 on a Friday night, and we'd walk 8 minutes to Clapham Common 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅.
It's that impromptu-ness.
Yeah, it's the stuff, but then equally you can't have all the other things we've mentioned prior in this video.
Yeah.
You can't have that and that, really, because it's very unusual. And similarly, if the pub in our village was one of the best in the Cotswolds, our village would be a lot busier. So it's a real catch-22.
Yeah, you can't have it all.
No.
A question that has come up...
What was yours? What was your point?
What was my point?
What was your...
Oh, 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅.
It was just 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅.
Yeah, but now I've got reformer. So.
Do you not miss... I thought maybe you might miss the ability to just say, oh, I'm in the mood for shopping today or something like that.
No, I don't. Not so much shopping. I would say actually it's that whole going out for dinner with friends and just being able to get an Uber home at any time. Because now I'm clock watching when I'm having dinner with friends unless I'm staying in a hotel.
That's true.
So that like Ubering home, that is what I miss. Yeah, a few people have asked in different ways if we have help in the house, do we clean it ourselves? And I think we should just touch on who we employ and like the team that it takes to keep this house ticking, because quite honestly, without being a full-time like housewife or house husband, we would not be able to care for this house by ourselves.
But not by our standards. No. I think, but this is more about moving to a bigger house from a smaller property, less about moving to the countryside.
Yes.
I think it's something that we definitely underestimated in terms of we moved from a very small 3-bedroom. Really, it was a small 2-bedroom with a tiny box room. So really, it was a 2-bedroom house, lovely in Clapham. We still had a cleaner once a week in the latter years because we had employees coming to the house and working there, so it was a bit more chaotic. But we were able to clean that house ourselves in the early years. This house, it would not be possible to stay on top of the cleaning in this house and do our day-to-day work. It's just about possible to do our day-to-day work. So we have a housekeeper that comes 3 times a week. We could probably get away with having her twice a week, but we like to have her 3 times a week to help with if we've got people staying over and stuff like that.
Yeah, she changes bed linen.
She's unbelievable, and we we view her as a family member almost now. But we inherited her with the house.
Yeah.
But that's something to consider in cost. You know, when you move to a bigger house.
And also, I'm just so grateful because there are rooms in this house that you or I may not go in for a month, which I know sounds ridiculous. But if we don't have guests over, why would we go into one of the guest bedrooms? It's like up in the eaves of the house, and I can go into those rooms without the fear that I'm going to be attacked by a million spiders, thanks to Kasha, because she keeps it ticking. She keeps those rooms ticking.
Yeah.
All the bathrooms are always clean.
Yeah.
And it's just, obviously we could do it ourselves, but
we couldn't. We
wouldn't be able to run our businesses.
We wouldn't be able to, you know, being open and honest, and this will speak to anyone that has their own business particularly, but anyone even with a 9 to 5 is a myth, right? Most people don't actually work 9 to 5, right? Even in an office job.
I don't know anyone that works 9 to 5.
No, exactly. It's a complete myth. So it's, look, when you move to a bigger house, if you want to live in a tidy way, it's very difficult to stay on top of all of those chores. And to be honest, we do an awful lot in the garden, but we also had or have a lovely gardener, but we had a lovely gardener who sadly passed away recently, but I guess it's a nice time to say thank you to her, really. But we had an amazing gardener who helped in our garden for 3 and a bit years, but the important thing was, I remember people used to message me like, oh, it's easy for you to do this because you've got a garden. I was like, well, there was only so much Jack could still do, you know, without our love for gardening at the weekend. Like, I spent the whole of yesterday and about 5 hours on Saturday in the garden.
Yeah.
And then normally what we would then do is do a small list for Jack, and she would then do other bits and pieces like edging or whatever. So we still have someone that helps in the garden, Stefan, who's also amazing, who knew Jack really well, and Martin, who cuts the lawn. Because the lawn's the other thing. I love the idea of cutting the lawn, but we do not have the time.
Yeah.
It's about a 4 to 5 hour job to cut our lawn and trim properly, doing it properly. With a sit-on mower, you could do it more easily, but That never looks as good in my opinion.
And then there's window cleaners who come.
Yeah, but most people. Yeah.
And there's like people that come and clean the gutters. There's.
We have. Yeah. I think that's the thing.
Lot.
Yeah.
It takes a squad.
Yeah, but it's things you have to consider when you move to a bigger house. An older house, the gutters thing, you know, that's not necessarily just for an old house, but someone that comes and vacuums the gutters every quarter to make. But that's sort of, I view that as an investment to save money, because if you don't do that over time, you will have leaks, potentially moisture into the house, etc.
Yeah.
So these are all things that have to be considered, and also you can build into it organically, right? We moved to this house with like 1 sofa, 2 armchairs, 1 bed. You know, we had virtually no furniture, and it took us, I think, nearly 2 years to get to a point where we had enough to fill the rooms and live here comfortably. And then, of course, over time, we've developed different tastes, we've invested in different things, and we're still not done. But there's no rush on it when it's your forever home, and that's where we've been very fortunate. But it's a lot of upkeep and a lot of work, and I think there are friends of ours that definitely wouldn't, and people that we know that that actually their priorities are maybe more travel, or you got to decide what your priority is. This house does demand a lot of time from us, and there are times where I'm like, oh my god, like I can't. I want to just sit and watch the football this afternoon, but there's a lot on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Even silly things like watering houseplants. Any DIY. It's really, really first world problems like rewinding our grandfather clock. But as soon as it stops, I'm in trouble, because then the date goes, and the date is a nightmare to reset.
There's
lots of silly things that all add up. But then everyone have got those chores in their house, and it's satisfying as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do just a couple more questions. Someone has asked if there was something that we disliked about the house when we moved in, but we've grown to love.
Grown to love?
My instant thought, what we disliked, the black bathroom, but we haven't grown to love it yet. But
we never will grow to love it.
Maybe we'll turn it into a sauna or something.
No,
we could do something cool with that.
You're never going to go and sit in a room without windows and through a sauna, are you? I think this whole ice baths and saunas at home is a fad. I love to go and enjoy them in a professional environment where they clean them, but I dread to think what people's ice baths and home saunas are going to be like if they're not on top of cleaning them. Look, I think when we moved in, the garden, there were huge elements of the garden that we really wanted to change, but we have changed them. In terms of the interior, we were just in pure admiration of what Stephen and his family had achieved. So we've obviously changed the decor in terms of paint and stuff. I think we're just very spoiled. We really, I'd say the biggest thing that we really didn't like was the coach house interiors, but your mum changed those. So yeah, I think there's nothing necessarily that we've grown to love. We loved it already.
Yeah.
In a way, would you say?
Yeah. Well, I guess the carport was really boring and just a carport, and we've turned it into an amazing gym.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, we've got one more question, I think.
One more question, let's make it a big one. Okay, this is quite a nice one to end on. Apart from your wedding, what is your favourite memory in the house?
Do you know what? Weirdly, I genuinely, we've made lots of happy memories here, and we'll make even happier memories, hopefully. The really happy time in this house was the COVID lockdown.
What a peculiar answer!
It is a peculiar answer, but I'll tell you why without waffling on. I'll tell you for why. So we moved in, we were euphoric. Every morning was like a fairy tale. Waking up, looking out the window, looking at the views, taking the house in. It didn't feel like our house. It was a pinch me moment. Work was quiet, which was concerning, but it was also like we had time to settle into the house. We had Stephen and his son living right by us, so we were able to have them over for barbecues, learn from them about the house, get to know Stephen and his son, which was just really special. When you look back on that, he was the person that rescued this house. And we got to know him and formed a real bond that you would not normally form with the seller, vendor of your property.
Yeah.
And I do look back on that with real fond memories. And it was glorious weather. Obviously, it was a sad time going on. We weren't able to see family and stuff like that. So I'm not saying the whole picture was challenging at times. But there were moments within that where we were forced to switch off. Email wasn't going off. And we just appreciated all of that. I would also say that the lead up to our wedding, not the wedding itself, the wedding itself was obviously amazing, but we've been, that was mentioned as something not to mention. The lead up to it was pretty special, with all the help, everyone helping. So yeah, I don't know, what would you say?
I think that Christmases in this house are another level of exceptional. Are special, yeah. This house, it feels like it was designed for Christmas, hence Christmas in the Cotswolds, why I think Vlogmas is always so special, because there is something so magical about this house at Christmas time, even if it's not magic and frosty and snowy outside, just the fires roaring, just everything about this house, the fact that we can cram everybody inside, and
it is special. Christmas is special in this house. You're
right.
Just
like having an Aga, having an open fire, having that dining room.
Do you know what though? I'll challenge you. So this vlog isn't all positive. We've still not nailed summer here, and by that I mean obviously weather plays a huge factor. But like, I'd love to replicate the feeling and the energy around Christmas, having a garden full of people. Obviously we did it at our wedding. But barbecue, make the most of all of this. I feel like sometimes we put all this energy into the garden, make it look amazing, and then we never actually sit down and enjoy it. Yeah. And I think this summer has got to be the year that we do that. Well, of course, there were moments at the wedding where I was like, wow, this has paid off, this hard work and this investment in the garden. But other than that, I think that's the other thing. And I think in a weird way, with stuff that's happened with losing a close friend in Jack, it's made me realise that we do also need to, like, she was in her 50s. It was shocking how quickly, she got sick and wasn't around. And I think we need to, all of us in particular, we're always on to the next thing, and we need to just really enjoy the moment a bit more. Enjoy the process, definitely, which is something I've learned and I'm learning.
But just sit back and take stock and be like, this is amazing what we have.
Yeah, and sit in the garden and enjoy it, and with a magazine, with a book, with a coffee, not always, busy on to the next thing. And it's easier said than done, and that's life. But yeah, that's one thing. But I think the overall arching thing is we honestly do still, 4 years into living here now, 4 years this month, isn't it? In a weird way, 4 years has gone very quickly, but in a weird way, 4 years we've done so much. Yeah. We've changed a lot. That's the other thing. Yeah. And I think that's the nice thing, and that would hopefully, for a lot of you watching, moving house is stressful. It's one of the most stressful things you do. It's expensive. It's it's energy sapping. But in the long run, if you get it right and you move to an area that really speaks to you, it can change your life in so many ways. And that new environment, you're a product of your environment, and this new environment has changed us as people, hopefully for the better. And so that's why I would encourage people. I always say to anyone young, anyone like, I'm sounding old now, I'm 34 soon, but like, Lauren, who's our PT, who's 19, I don't want to lose her, obviously, but I said to her, look, if you really like the idea of living in London, you need to do it now. You need to go and enjoy and experience living in a city, being able to do all the things you were mentioning, stumble home at 3 in the morning and not be worried about an hour and a half journey home. But equally, I think when you get to a certain point, don't be afraid to take that jump and move out to the countryside, whether it's the Cotswolds, Lake District, wherever, Norfolk, Sussex, Kent. There's so many amazing areas as well. Yeah. And yeah, I'm pretty confident it will be a good decision for most people.
I think so. I think when the time is right.
Yeah, we know it's frustrating in a way. I wish we could rewind, because I don't remember an exact moment where we were like, let's move house sort of thing.
Because there wasn't. Because of how we came about finding this house, it wasn't really a decision of, are we ready to leave London? Are we ready to move to the Cotswolds? It was this house. The pull of this house was so strong.
Yeah, there is something strange about it, how it kind of did. Yeah, we never looked at another house. We never even looked to compare pricing. We never even thought, okay, this house is X. What other houses in the market are there in this area?
We didn't
even look
Only
at
Cross Hill House. We knew how much that was.
That was ridiculous.
And that was the house that drew us to the Cotswolds, so we'll forever be grateful to Cross Hill House.
That's why it's nice that we've got cottages in Atterbury now. Yeah. Who knows, maybe Strawtop 7 can be Cross Hill House if all things go well.
Oh my gosh, if we win the lottery.
If we win the lottery. If Dexter makes it big.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's go and make some dinner. What's on the menu?
We've got Riverford. But I like to mix it up sometimes with Riverford. There's a gnocchi dish. I had some of the gnocchi last night, so there's not enough gnocchi, and we want gnocchi. So we're going to have...
Don't knock it until you tried it.
Don't knock it until you tried it. we're going to have like a roasted cauliflower curry.
Right, let's go and do it. Thank you for watching our little Q&A, Cotswolds to London. There are 10,500,000 questions that we didn't get around to ask.
Well, maybe we'll do a round 2 another time, if there's a demand for it.
But those are the ones that I think were the most repeated questions.
And I think we'll do some blog posts.
Yeah, check out the blog. Okay, let's go and eat. Well, my darlings, I did an entire day without actually talking to the camera, which I know is scandalous. So I thought I'd film a voiceover for my Tuesday. As always, I just love to film the roads when I'm driving to the gym. I went for Pilates first thing. It was such a gorgeous day. This is the little village of Long Compton, and the little thatched cottages, the church. It's so beautiful. I think if anyone comes to visit the Cotswolds, I would so highly recommend driving or renting a car, because one thing, I think I even mentioned this in the Q&A, that I didn't think I would love so much about this area, but I just fall in love with, is seeing the beautiful lanes and how everything changes season by season. This is the road that I drive down nearly every single day on my way to Daylesford. It's truly stunning. And where are we now? Oh, this is 𝘞𝘠𝑚, so this is the nearest village to Daylesford where the Wild Rabbit is. I actually went straight from Pilates to the train station in 𝘞𝘠𝑚 instead of my usual station, because it's literally 5 minutes away from Pilates. So there we go. Okay, next stop was into London. We're still in 𝘞𝘠𝑚, but I got the train into London. It's just so beautiful, I couldn't stop filming. I think it's one of the most pretty villages in the Cotswolds. Okay, here we are. We made it to London. I wanted to walk everywhere this day, but actually my train was delayed, so I had to get a taxi to my first meeting. I went to a place called the Mount Street restaurant for my first meeting, and it's such a gorgeous spot. Yes, I wore trainers, so I could walk to the rest of my meetings. I actually did over 20,000 steps this day. It was a gorgeous day. My lunch meeting was at 𝑭𝒊𝒏𝒅 𝑴𝒆, which has been around for about 4 years. Yes, we had the Parmesan carbonara in the Parmesan wheel. It was absolutely spectacular. And then I walked an hour and a half back up to the train station, back to Paddington after my last few meetings. Again, sorry for no voiceover, but there we go. That was my day. Well, hello my darlings. It is now Wednesday, and I wasn't intending on this being a 3-day vlog, but of course I didn't really talk to you yesterday while I was in London. You'll have just had a little voiceover. Today has been a really lovely day. Charlie, Lila and I, we went on a little family road trip over to Daylesford House, which is where Carol and Anthony Bamford live. Carol being founder of Daylesford, because she opened up their gardens today for the National Garden Scheme. Unfortunately, I was not allowed, or no one was allowed to take any photos or videos, so I would have loved to have brought you along, because oh my goodness, I actually would say the most amazing grounds and garden I think I have ever seen, and it's early May and it was already looking amazing. I have taken so much inspo. The house is just incredible, absolutely beautiful, and she has got everything from, if I can find any pictures online that are obviously already out in the public domain, I'll pop them on the screen here. She's got the most amazing orangery. There's actually some information in this little booklet. Do they even call it? Yeah, the Davenport Orangery, with an interior layout redesigned by Lady Bamford, including a collection of citruses within a central bed. The smell in there was absolutely beautiful. It was turreted, a turreted orangery, just a little stroll down from the house. Behind that, there was a secret garden with a pool house and a beautiful, almost hexagonal shaped pool with statues, with steps, with just the most beautiful, wild but tidy flower beds all around it. 2 incredible lakes, lawns, herbaceous borders, all the plants and flowers that Charlie and I absolutely love. The alliums were just starting to spring up. Some of them were opening, peonies, anemones, hellebores, everything. There was a beautiful pond, and we were quizzing one of the gardening team there about how they keep it so clear. So hopefully we're going to put some of that into practice. And then, oh my gosh, I've never known a garden to need a map quite this big before. But there was also the rose garden, the ornamental vegetable house, the kitchen walled garden, the quince lawn. They'd opened up the gardener's cottage kind of barn area for teas. We had lemon drizzle, we had brownies, we had cups of tea. It was so well organised. I think there would have been over 1,000 people going along today, so they've made a lot of money for charity, which is lovely. But oh my gosh, the kitchen garden, I'm speechless. It was the most amazing, it is the most amazing kitchen garden I think I've ever seen. So pristine. I think she must have at least probably 20 full-time gardeners, I would say, for an estate that size. And the amount of things which they are growing there, just absolutely incredible. The structures, the like natural woven branch structures that they were using to grow sweet peas up, to grow beans up. They'd made like little mini greenhouses out of sheets of glass to protect things like the beetroot, to warm them up in the soil. It was just mind-blowing. I am going to try my hardest, maybe see if I can ask Carol if I can bring you guys along perhaps later in the summer when everything is in full bloom. But even at this time of year, it was incredible. So many sheds and potting areas. The gardening team there must just be in absolute heaven. It was truly amazing, and I feel very cruel just describing it. I had my camera in my bag. I wanted to bring you along, but it was very clear everywhere. It was like, yeah, no photography within the gardens. So we shall see. Hopefully in the future I might be able to bring you along. Maybe Carol can chat us through the gardens. I think she'd really, really love that, but we shall see. We shall see. So that was a really amazing day. I've picked, yeah, as I said, got so many tips and so much inspo from it. Something that I wanted to do right now, but it's actually just started raining. We were so lucky. It was glorious while we were there. And we actually bumped into not only maybe 10 or 12 people that watched the YouTube videos. So if you were there, then thank you for saying hello. People often say like, oh, I didn't know whether I should say hi. Always say hi. I always absolutely love it. I love meeting so many of you. It's good to just put faces behind usernames and behind the numbers. So I'm very, very grateful if you are one of the very friendly ladies that said hello. We also, for the first time ever for me, bumped into our Strawtop Cottage guests, which was amazing. Lovely Lynn from Philadelphia, we bumped into her at the Daylesford Gardens as well. So it was just really, it was lovely. Lovely to see so many familiar faces and lots of my friends from Pilates and locally as well. So it was gorgeous, gorgeous day. So much effort had gone into organising it, so well organised. But yeah, what Lady Bamford and Anthony have done in that house, in those grounds, one can only dream. Truly the most beautiful house I've ever seen, the most sensational gardens, pool area, ponds, kitchen garden. Wow, just wow. So yeah, I filmed a couple of scenic clips on our way to and from, or actually just on our way there, using the new camera, and I think that is going to be really good for like driving shots because they were very smooth. But yeah, well, now I'm just gonna put my comfy clothes on, and I think we're just gonna have a super chilled evening. I'm still tired from yesterday in London, and I've got quite a lot of admin I need to catch up on, so I think I'm going to go down, light the fire, hopefully for the last time this year, and just get my laptop out and crack on with loads and loads of admin. So I will end the vlog here, my darlings, if you did make it all the way to the end, because it probably has been quite a long one. Let's leave the word floral. Today's events have been very floral in your comment down below, and I will see you Sunday, or is today Sunday? I've actually lost track of my vlogging schedule, but thank you for watching. I hope you had a gorgeous day, and I'll see you very soon in the next one. Goodbye.